Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness. It's time to have new conversations about mental health. Join Mara James as she guides us along this journey. And now, let's talk wellness.
Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness. I'm your host, Mara James, and I want to say thank you for joining us today. These conversations are all about taking a deeper dive into understanding how we can help support children and their families to have better mental health and wellness. Let's Talk Wellness is brought to you by the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to improve children's mental health and emotional wellness. Now, let's talk wellness with today's guest, Wendy Beth. Wendy is a public speaker, international best-selling author, and a soul guide. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, Mara. So good to be here.
It's so great to see you. And where are you located with that beautiful background?
I am in the Wasatch Mountains in Utah, above Huntsville.
Wow, it looks just beautiful. I know we made you close the window before because it was hard to see you, but we could see you to your left, so it's just beautiful. So share with us. We're going to get to your book, The Living Blueprint. I'm really excited. What exactly is a soul guide?
A soul guide is a coach. That's a word that most people know. But a soul guide is someone who more takes an intuitive approach, connects to a person's soul, to their values, their beliefs, their experiences, and helps them maneuver and navigate their life versus giving them all this information, telling them this is the way it should be done, this is how we do it. It's more soul-led. The person that I'm working with, what's going on in their life, where do they want to go?
Okay, and how would you compare it to, let's say, talk therapy?
Well, we do that. In fact, I have one client who we have one appointment a week that is talk therapy, and we have one appointment a week where we work on their living blueprint, where it's very structured so that they can create their blueprint that allows them to create their days, their weeks, their months according to where they want to go.
Beautiful.
So we do both.
Okay, and I love that. So let's talk about your Living Blueprint book. When did it come out?
We published it on January 25th of 2024.
Beautiful. Congratulations. That's really exciting. And tell us, what is a living blueprint?
So a living blueprint is a compass. It's a personal navigational tool that we use every single day to guide our choices. It's based on who we are. It's based on our own personal guidance system. It's based on our body, what our biochemistry needs. It's based on our authentic truth and telling the truth, because there's so much power in the truth. And it is all held together with loving kindness for ourselves, loving kindness for each other, and loving kindness from the source of all love.
That is so beautiful. How long has this book been percolating before you started working on it?
Well, I've been on my own healing and learning journey for 30 years.
Wow.
And in 2019, I was sitting on a beach in Spain, and I had reached just this pinnacle of happiness in my life. And I remember sitting there and thinking, this is not all for me. I want to share this. I know where I started. I survived suicide in 1989. And then the next 2.5 decades, I spent learning and healing and growing. And I realized at that moment, I want to share with people how I came to this place of happiness.
Especially coming from a place of suicide. May I ask you how old you were when that happened?
21.
21. Wow. And was that the first time you felt like sad, depressed, or did you have other heavy emotions when you were younger?
Oh, I had a lot of trauma, a lot of physical, emotional, sexual, a lot of abuse. And that was the third time that I had overdosed. I'm not sure the other two times I really wanted to end my life, but that time I just wanted everything to go black. I just wanted the pain to stop. But thankfully I survived.
And not only survive, but thriving. So we have a lot of parents, like you just, suicide, the suicide ideation that's going on is just, it's really out of control. There's a number in California, it's probably like a year old, it's 988 versus 911, and it's suicide prevention. And do you know 6 to 8 year olds are calling it? And not pranksters, like serious, so what would you tell? I want to know what you would tell to a parent, A, and then B, what you would tell to a child that went through similar traumas like you and I both had. Not comparing, it sounds like mine might not have been as bad because luckily I didn't remember till I was older. So let's start, like, yeah, you start. What would you say to the child, the teen, the parent?
Okay, so to a child, I would say, I am so proud of you for calling 988. Call it again, and call it again, and call it again, and keep calling it. Because, and this is people don't like to hear this, but lots of times when children are in crisis, so are parents. And so it's very hard to support a child because a parent is in a lot of crisis as well. So little child, you just keep calling that number and you just keep asking for help. To the teen, you have a lot more resources. You have counselors at school, you have people, you have maybe people at church, maybe your family, friends. Just tell the truth. Just keep talking. Just use your words. I think one of the biggest things, I was just writing this. So Living Blueprint, it's a writing journey. You do a lot of writing in Living Blueprint. And yesterday I was writing, one of the things that was so detrimental to me as a child was I was hurt, but then I couldn't talk about it. Right. If you're being hurt as a child, if you can talk about it, the research tells us you can heal. You don't have to stay stuck in all that pain. So if you're being hurt or if you have been hurt, tell someone and keep telling someone until you feel clear. And to parents, this is something I've learned as a parent. You have to feed yourself. You have to make sure that you take care of yourself as a parent. Most parents, not all parents, but most parents give everything to their children, and it completely depletes them. And one of the first things that I share with a parent is you can take 5 minutes in the morning to connect with yourself. Your family can wait. Your children can wait for 5 minutes so that you as a mom or a dad can connect to who you are, what you need to do that day, and just connect to that stillness inside of you. So those are some things that I guess the other thing I would just say, keep talking. Just keep talking, break the stigma of mental illness, break the stigma of suicidal ideation, just talk about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids might be scared, right? Because they're threatened right? But I love that, like with 988, like, thank you for calling and we're here for you and keep calling if you need it. You said with a parent to connect with themselves. It sounds so beautiful. What is that like? My brain just goes to a blank. Like, what does that mean to connect with myself? Like, right?
So the first activity in my book, because I think it's the most important thing, is to connect with yourself. So let's talk about that. So you wake up in the morning and you're kind of in that little daze. And the first thing we do is, okay, what have I got to do today? I've got my to-do list, or a child is in the bed. I need you, mommy. Here's what I suggest. Stop, put your hands on your heart and breathe. Connect to your essence. Like, your brain, your heart, your gut. Connect with that for 5 minutes. And it will feel like an eternity the first few times you do it.
Yeah.
But you'll find that then you actually have, you step into this place of choice and act instead of reacting.
Mm.
Instead of reacting to your to-do list, instead of reacting to your children or your husband or getting breakfast or getting people to school, you're acting and you're not being acted upon.
Wow.
And you can start that with just 5 minutes. And another good thing, and I just did this with someone last week, we found a song. It was 3 minutes and 38 seconds. It's the most beautiful song. And I said to her, turn this on and listen to it. She's like, but my children, your children can wait 3 minutes and 38 seconds. They can.
Right.
I know, I raised 4 children. They may not think they can wait, but they can. As can your partner. Everyone can wait for 5 minutes so that you can connect to who you are. And if you are nursing a baby, then you can nurse your baby and you can still connect to the essence of who you are. That your head, your heart, your gut, and that connection.
So
Just be
beautiful.
still.
Yeah, I love that, right? We're human, we're supposed to be human beings, not human doings, but we're running. And so a lot of times, we're running because, it makes us feel important, right? Which is
Mhm.
out there versus inside. That is so amazing. We spoke last time, you talked to me about the How Am I scale. Can you share with us about
Oh,
that?
yeah. Oh, it's one of my favorite things. So when one of my children was in high school, one of my children is hard of hearing. And so there was definitely a language gap. And this child is not a huge communicator. And so I really needed to figure out some way to communicate how they were. So I would just say, just on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you? And it just became kind of intuitive. I'm a 6, or I'm a 9, I'm a 2. And that just in 1 second tells me where my child's at. Well, then it worked so well that I started using it with clients, and then with my partner. And so now it's just very embedded in my life. And in the book, it starts like at a 10. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Like a 10 is, I'm exuberant, I'm doing amazing. Let me go to that. A 0 is, I'm dealing with suicidal ideation. I don't want to be here. And I have a plan.
Oh,
5 is, I'm stuck.
mhm.
I'm not moving. I feel frozen. I feel paralyzed. And so you share this how am I scale with the people you work with, your children, your partner, and it becomes a very easy communication tool. How are you today? Especially if someone's kind of grumpy. I'm a 4. And the other thing that I teach is if you are at a 7 or below, it's time to implement your healing toolkit, which is a whole nother chapter. Because when we start to drop below 7, we're getting depleted, and that's time to focus on caring for ourselves, nurturing ourselves more than giving. So
Wow. You shared a story with me, and I can't remember the details, but I think you were either a young mom or you were visiting one, and there was a family and something with the guitar. Do you remember the guitar story?
I don't.
Activity 6. No?
Oh, activity 6. Oh my gosh, I love activity 6. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so activity is 6 is all about circle of interest. So again, I learned this as a mom. I had a child who we were kind of butting heads a lot, and I just was unwilling to let this define our relationship.
Yeah.
And so I just started We had a family dog, so he and I would walk our family dog. We loved to snowboard. We loved to kayak. We loved to be outside. He loved good food. He loved steaks. He liked it when I made him cookies. So these things I just focused on, even though we still had this butting heads, which was pretty bad. But that was just part of the relationship. We kept enjoying ourselves. Today, 10, 15 years later, this child is one of my best friends. And I really attribute it to that. And so I came up with this activity in Circle of Interest for ourselves, because one of the things that I realized, you'll see mine is already done, but so in the book, we have this circle, and a person writes down their favorite foods, their favorite activities, their favorite colors, everything they love to do. And you do something out of this circle every single day. Then, now I haven't done this because I go through this book every 6 months, and so I need to do this again with my partner. But then you do this same thing with your partner. You do your circle of interests, and you then do their circle of interests, and then you find these common interests that take no energy from either one of you. You can do this with your child, your partner, your friend. They take no energy. You both love to do them. For instance, like me and my husband, we both love to go out to dinner. We both love to go to movies. I love to shop. He does not like to shop. That is not in our circle that does not overlap. So guess what? We don't do that together anymore, because that causes stress.
Yeah.
And so this circle of interest idea, or a happy basket, I also call it, these are the activities that bring joy into my life. They bring joy into my relationships.
I love that. And with one of my challenging and gifted children, who's now 25, but diagnosed with Asperger's and ADHD at 6, doesn't love to talk a lot, communicate, but I love that, like thinking about things we like to do together, and even if we both love to go to Pokey together, and even if we're not talking, but we're just together, taking it, allowing, because I feel like sometimes we tell, like, the kids have to do this and have to do that, and they have, and it's like we put all these shoulds, and they say, don't should all over me, right?
Right.
But I love that, really looking and starting it with a child. Like, gosh, I wish I knew about this when my kids were younger, right? What are things, and then revisiting it every year, right? Because obviously things change. Maybe a little kid likes the color and a bigger kid wants to go snowboarding, or what, that
Absolutely.
is so beautiful. Did you do that with all of your children?
So, it's interesting. The younger two, absolutely. The older two, I kind of have two separate families almost a little bit. The older two, we did a lot of things that we enjoyed. I think I actually started really learning this with my daughter, because she, starting to do our nails together and going and doing tea time and things like that. But there wasn't really that friction with my older ones. But then when I had this friction with this child, then it became so important for me to do. And so I feel like I did it even more with this child, but in order to not have the negative stuff overtake the relationship, I feel like with the other children, it was just more organic.
Yeah, right.
We just
Exactly, right.
did a
Yeah.
lot of things together, a lot of things they like to do. And quite honestly, then it was mostly what they like to do. I think if I've learned something as a parent, that's what I've learned, is it really needs to be the parent's likes and the child's likes.
Yeah.
Because if it's only about the child, that doesn't work either.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I had a client, and the father's like, do you want to have a baseball, football, or whatever catch? And he's like, none. I want to go, like, to the shooting range or to archery. And the father's like, well, if you're not going to do what I want to do, I'm not going to do what you want to do. And right, that wasn't helpful anywhere, for anyone. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like as parents, and I had to learn this as a parent, I I gave everything to my children, and I had to learn that I needed to keep some for myself. And so there came a point, literally 25 years into parenting, that was like, you have to do something for yourself here.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like that Venn diagram of overlapping so that both the parent and the child's needs are being met. I
Absolutely.
think that's so important.
Sorry about that. The dogs are barking. Perfect time. We're going to take a brief break and we will be right back.
Okay.
So stay tuned and then we'll come back and we'll discuss the healing toolkit and some other of the other activities in your book.
We hope that you're enjoying today's Let's Talk Wellness podcast. And if you have a topic that you would like us to explore, we would love to hear from you. Simply email us at info@elfempowers.org. That's info@elfempowers.org. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Wellness. I'm your host, Mara James, and today we have Wendy Beth. Welcome back, Wendy Beth.
Thanks, Mara. It's awesome to be here.
Oh my, there's so much good stuff to talk about. I hope we could squeeze it all in, but if not, we'll have a follow-up. So when we spoke last time, you told me about Activity 5, going to Bermuda. You had this like glow come over you. Can you share with us what that is?
So, yes, this is one of my favorite activities, and it is a posture that you can do every day that switches your body from the sympathetic nervous system into the parasympathetic nervous system. And I learned this probably about 13 years into my healing journey. But you lay on the ground or you lay on your bed and you put your feet up on the wall at a 70-degree angle. And there's lots of ways where you can modify this if you have back issues or knee issues, but I'm just telling you the most simple way. But you put your feet on the wall and you just lay quietly with your hands at your side for 20 minutes. And the nurse practitioner that taught me this, she had me do this 3 times a day when she first met me because I was in such fight, flight, and freeze that I could barely function and I was so sick. And so she said, do this 3 times a day. And I was like, I have 4 children. She said, do this 3 times a day. And so I did. And it literally shifted my life because I was so in this hypervigilant state, or I was in so paralyzed state, or I didn't even know because I had lived there my whole life.
Yeah.
And when I started going to Bermuda, I got to experience what my parasympathetic nervous system feels like, which is peace. And anyone can do it. Just every single day. And in the book, I invite the reader to go to Bermuda at least 1 time a day. And I go to Bermuda every single night.
Oh, you do? And why is 70-degree angle?
You know, I will tell you what she told me. And she said that when your feet are up at that angle, that it pushes all the blood out of those big muscles in your legs into this part of your body. And so it just forces, it lowers your blood pressure. It allows your body to just relax.
Nice.
And it happens. And you literally will feel it. I mean, you'll feel it the first time you do it. But then when you're in your life, then you're going to start feeling, when you start to get into that, you know, I got to get the laundry done. I got to get to here. I got to get here. And the other thing that I started doing at that same time, Mara, which I just remembered, I do talk about it in the book, but I started carrying a cup of water without a lid. Because I was so going from activity to activity and I wanted to slow down.
Wow.
And so between going to Bermuda every day, 3 times a day, and carrying a cup of water that did not have a lid on it, from the car to my house, from the basketball games that I was taking my son to the, whatever we were going to, here's my cup of water, because it did not get spilled as long as I was staying calm.
Wow, wow, wow. And when you're doing it, could someone listen to music? Does it have to be quiet? What do you suggest?
So she, when she taught it to me, there was no such thing as cell phones, no smartphones. So I'm sure she would have told me no smartphones. I do listen to a little bit of music, but I do not read, I do not talk, I do nothing. I just let my brain completely relax. And one of the things that happens in the book is when we're doing this, sometimes a lot of that mind chatter will start, and we'll start, that monkey brain might start. So we actually have an activity that starts to bust those myths, like you're not good enough, or you shouldn't be wasting your time like this, and we figure out a different affirmation. We write different affirmations so that we can just lay there in peace for 20 minutes. And it takes time. However, the nice thing about this, Mara, is you can have all that monkey brain going on, but if you'll stay there for 20 minutes, your body is going to shift.
Beautiful. Oh,
And if you do it every day, going to cause a shift in your life.
That's so beautiful. And that's like, putting our oxygen masks on as parents or as spouses and really giving us that time that we deserve makes us better, stronger for everybody else. Wow.
Absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story. So one time, my children, the first time they saw me do it, they wanted to come all and do it. And they all did it with me. And, they dropped off 10, 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes in. But it was interesting. Whenever they started to get into their sympathetic nervous systems, I would send them to Bermuda. And one day somebody came to my door and I opened the door and all my children were in Bermuda. And they're like, what's going on here? So I told this person, and they went home and they started doing it, and they had suffered from insomnia for years. And they said, that was the first time that I started being able to sleep at night. They would go to Bermuda right before they'd go to bed, and that was the first time in years that they had been able to sleep.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I love that. Sleep is the most important thing, because if you don't sleep, you'll go mentally, your mind, more important than food and water. So, wow, that's a great trick. I'm going to tell my clients about that. I love it. Let's all go to Bermuda.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Talk to us. You shared with me about the healing toolkit, and I think it was activity 14. Can you share with us about that?
Absolutely. So activity 14 in the book is creating your healing toolkit. And Time magazine in 2022 put out a magazine about healing treatments, all these different healing modalities, which I so loved. We were coming off of COVID, and I loved it because I believe in that so much, that we each have to create our own healing toolkit. So in activity 14, you create a list of things that you commit to do on a daily basis. If your number ever goes below 7, that you will do, like go for a walk, take a bath, call a friend, have an orgasm, build a fire, go sit on the deck, plant flowers. I mean, whatever it needs to be in your healing toolkit, you commit to yourself that you will do that thing that you need. And you actually have five that you make a list of, and they're your healing toolkit.
That's beautiful. Oh, that's amazing. You also shared with me when we spoke about listening to our bodies. I think it was an activity in the upper 30s. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, I like that they kind of are a bridge to each other. One of the things that I experienced in my life was ignoring when I had pain, ignoring if I had to pee, ignoring if I wasn't feeling well, if I was sad, ignoring my emotions. And what I realized is, in ignoring those emotions, that then my body started to hurt. like I would have pain. I actually had got pain in my hip. And so what I learned and this was years of learning this, but I realized that my body is a message board.
Mm.
If I listen to it, if I'm authentic, if I tell the truth to myself, if I'm honest when I'm in the morning and I wake up in the morning, this is something every morning when I wake up, how do I feel? Do I have pain anywhere? If I have pain anywhere today, it gets addressed today. 15, 20 years ago, when I had pain or woke up with a pain, I'm too busy. I got to get up and make breakfast. I got to get up and do all of these things. But now, and what I teach is if you have pain in your body, that is a message for you. And so that's when we need to use our healing toolkit. All of these things build on each other. Experiencing that stillness in the morning, seeing where we're at, being honest, and seeing really how do I feel, then implementing our healing toolkit to whatever is happening in our body. And all of the levels, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, we address in the living blueprint. So we're talking about physical manifestations here, but the living blueprint, we go into all of the layers of our humanness.
I love that. And it's so funny. I didn't even know I had any issues to heal, right? Because I was always, undiagnosed PTSD, anxiety. And then the universe threw me in 10 years ago, May, a manic episode when I started my healing journey. I find it sometimes hard, like, working with parents that they want to help their children. And then once we stabilize them, that's when I'm like, I encourage them to really work on their own healing journey because it's going to have a profound impact on their child. Right. But it's always so much easier to focus on others versus ourselves. And it's not being self-centered. It's the most, and also being vulnerable enough to really, look at our past and tell people that big vulnerability is the biggest strength, right?
Absolutely, Mara.
Yeah. And this is where I feel like so many people are suffering right now. And it like takes that rock in the rock to let the light in, for you, sorry, it was the suicidal ideation. Thank God you're doing amazing today and have 4 beautiful kids, right? I could have just gone so differently. Yeah, that's amazing. So listening to our bodies, that's perfect. Whenever I have a pain, I always Google the spiritual meaning of it because I want to help it physically, but also emotionally, because emotions, as we know, have a direct correlation to our different ouchies in our body.
Absolutely.
Are there any activities in your book that we didn't discuss?
Well, everything is connected.
What do you mean by that?
Well, everything in us is connected. And I think that we are, as humans, as an individual, we are also, that is the same with our children, in our families. We are all connected. And so when one of us is hurting, it's absolutely affecting another person. I love what you just said. As soon as your clients and you stabilize the child, then the parent, because parents and children are so inseparably connected, that what the child is feeling and what the parent is feeling. And I really think that we're just in our generation. I mean, that's really just coming to light. And I think that that's so important, what you just said, Mara.
Yeah, these kids are definitely, I always say they're here to change the world, beginning with their parents, the ones that are being born now, and they're just so empathic and they're feeling, they're so empathic as a gift and a curse, but when they're feeling, people around them or their parents' emotions, right? If the mom's there cooking up a meal and smiling, but inside she just had a fight with someone, she's really angry or stressed about something, that child can have a stomach ache or start getting indigestion from eating. So it's really interesting, that connection. Does anything,
Absolutely.
does anything really surprise you? Has anything surprised you in the work that you're doing now with your clients?
You know, I think what is so pleasantly surprising is people who are suffering, their willingness to do the work, their willingness to look outside the box, to put possibly past experiences, past programming, and find a new way to do things that works, a flexibility. And I think that it is so empowering to have mental flexibility, to be able to see different options, because I truly believe that when we have parents and children who are maybe not being able to see eye to eye, struggling, that those opportunities, that those differences are opportunities to go deeper into love. And I see that with the child I was talking about at the very beginning, where when you continually just create these joy-filled moments, even though you're having a hard time here, that those joy-filled moments, they can carry you. And so I feel like just having that flexibility and meeting each other where we're at, whether it's parents and children or partners, I think there's just a lot of flexibility, and I love that.
Wow, differences or opportunities. That is so beautiful. I always say when somebody, pushes our buttons, like to analyze why and what is it reminding of. One thing I've noticed with a lot of clients is when I'm working with the parent of the child that's experiencing some mental health challenges, they try to protect like their parent, like they never, whether they're alive or especially if they pass, they never want to smear their name. But it's interesting because I'm like, your parent could be great, but there was one time in your life that maybe something happened that didn't make you feel great or safe. Do you encounter that a lot?
Well, I will speak. My mother just passed, and she and I had a very, very difficult relationship, and I talk about it in the book. And thankfully, she and I, before she passed, we had a lot of healing. But to this day, I will speak the truth, and I do speak very graciously the truth about our relationship in the book, but it's hard. I feel that twinge. I feel that, but then you have the other side. I don't know if it's guilt or I think at this point in my life, I understand her pain more.
Yeah.
And I don't want to add to it, number one. And I think as children, we understand our parents' pain when we've gone through our own healing. Let me put it that way. As adults, as we go through our own healing, we begin to understand our parents' pain more.
Yeah.
And we give them a lot of grace.
I love that. More compassion. It's so important, right? If people don't like the word forgiveness, we won't go there, release, whatever. Is to have compassion for somebody, right? We always say hurt people, traumatize people, traumatize people. And in our cases, healed people, heal people.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mara.
Wendy Beth, what is the best way for people to get, in touch with you?
Oh, my website, wendybeth.org.
Okay.
And
we'll
you
in the show
can,
information also.
and you can get the book on Amazon. It's there digitally, hard copy. I love working with people and helping them create their living blueprints. It is pure joy.
Beautiful. And you're doing such great work, such important work in this world. We will share the Amazon link for the book in the show information as well. And Wendy, and to all of our friends watching or listening, don't forget that you are amazing.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk Wellness. This podcast has been brought to you by the Extraordinary Lives Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you would like to listen to more conversations like this, we invite you to subscribe to our mailing list at www.elfempowers.org to be notified when our episodes are published. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to bringing you our next conversation on Let's Talk Wellness.